Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me. My name's Cashel and I poorly tell you about true crime cases that I have researched. If you would like something super in-depth, accurate and boring, I am not the person to watch. I will probably bodge a few things. I'm not very good at pronouncing. Sometimes I don't write things down properly. And we've got outtakes at the end to show you how badly I really messed up this entire video. So stick around for that. If you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it because I'm just starting to get my YouTube back up and running. So, like I say, would massively appreciate that. Thank you. Today, I'm going to be covering the case of the murder of Linda Bailey Brown. I don't think this is a massively heard of one, but it's so interesting. I saw a bit of the movie Love, Lies and Murder. Love, Lies and something. I don't know. I watched it ages ago. I wrote this script like 2019. It was a very long time ago. But this case is what that movie's based on. And then when I looked into it, my head just exploded. It's so interesting. Trigger warnings for today include attempted suicide and grooming and definitely manipulation. If any of those are things you don't want to listen to at the moment, that's absolutely fine. I'll see you for another video. Content warning, as always, strong language. So we're starting today's case in Orange County in 1985. And the first person we're going to be looking at is Cinnamon Brown. This case is very hard to Google because if you type in Cinnamon Brown, all that comes up is sugar. It's a beautiful name, but it's very hard to Google. So Cinnamon was 14 years old at the time of this case, and she was seen as very likeable, preteen. She was relatively popular and just easy to get on with. She had quite a lot of friends. She was seen as quite a young 14. Everyone, if you kind of met her and you didn't know how old she was, you'd think she was younger than she is. So maybe a bit immature, I guess. She lived in Garden Grove, Orange County with her father, David, who is 37 years old at the time, and he's quite a successful businessman. He's got quite a few businesses and he's worked his way up to becoming a millionaire, or like a multi-millionaire. Although he's very successful business-wise, he is not with relationships, as he has just married his fourth wife, Linda Bailey Brown. Linda is just 23 years old and David is 37, so that's a bit of a gap. It's a bit of a gap. I mean, there's nothing normally wrong with it, but sometimes men of that age want a woman of that age because they're easier to mould. So it can be a red flag. Cinnamon's mum was David's first wife and their relationship was very on and off until she found out David was actually cheating on her, and that was the end of that. That was when Cinnamon was around 4 years old. Linda, his new wife, he had first met Linda when she was about 14 and he was in his early 20s, which I just think adds to the red flag. By the time she was 15, she was madly in love with David and they had started a sexual relationship, which is very illegal. So we're just stacking up these flags at this point. That's not okay. So Linda comes from a massive family. She has 10 siblings, which is crazy. 10 siblings is nuts. You wouldn't be able to keep count of your nieces, nephews. It's just a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. She had an abusive mother and an alcoholic father, so her parents were arseholes. So I think she was quite glad to get out of her house when she did. She was more than happy to become David's wife. David somehow kind of infiltrates this family and is impressing them with money because I can't imagine they have a lot as they have to stretch it between 12 of them. So he kind of comes in and starts flashing the cash. David tells Linda's mum that he has been diagnosed with colon cancer, and he's got about 6 months to live. He says he's weak and he just needs some help around the house. If Linda and maybe one of her sisters could move in, that would really help him out, poor David. And obviously Linda's mum has no problem with this because she's got 2 less mouths to feed, so she gladly fucks them off into David's care. I'm not sure how long David is claiming to have this imaginary cancer, but he beats it. It's a miracle. He's cured. 6 months to live, cured. He smashes cancer's butt. Ugh. There's a special place in hell for people who lie about cancer. Just what the fuck. So Linda moves in with David and her younger sister Patty moves in with her. And when Linda is 17 years old, she gets permission to marry David from her parents. Skipping ahead now, and Linda is now 23 years old, and she's just given birth to hers and David's first child, who they have named Crystal. So now we're at the night in question, which is the 19th of March 1985, which is about 7 months after Crystal has been born. Cinnamon wakes up in the middle of the night. David is out at the shop, and Cinnamon walks into Linda's room with a .38 caliber gun and shoots Linda in the chest at point blank range twice. Police are called and they find David at a convenience shop, I think. I've wrote that down, but I don't think that's right. I think he's on, I don't know. They find David at the convenience shop, so he's not at home. He was buying comic books and pre-packaged pies. I don't know. So when the police got to the house, or got back to the house, he stood outside with Patty, who's holding Crystal, and they're like, we don't know where the fuck Cinnamon is. Everyone's very stressed, very distraught. They don't really know what's happened. They said they kind of went into Linda's bedroom, or Patty went into Linda's bedroom and saw her arm kind of like hanging off the bed, and she was terrified, so she grabbed the baby, went outside, called the police, and that's all they knew. Linda is still breathing at this point, so they rush Linda into the back of an ambulance and take her to hospital, but unfortunately she dies on the way. Now they look into where the hell is Cinnamon? Where has she gone? So they start calling round Cinnamon's friends and like obviously her friends' parents and going, have you seen her? This has happened. And everyone's kind of in shock hearing this information because Cinnamon seemed to get on with Linda. She was a very good girl. She did as she was told. She absolutely worshipped her dad. They just couldn't find any motive as to why the hell Cinnamon would do this to Linda. Around 5 a.m, officers are still in and around the house, and one of them's in the garden and he sees something move from the dog shed. Dog shed? Dog house. He goes in there and he finds Cinnamon laying in the fetal position. She's surrounded by pills and like bottles, empty bottles of pills and vomit. I believe she's wet herself. She's been sick down herself, and there's a note saying, please forgive me, I didn't mean to hurt her. And no, dear God, please forgive me, I didn't mean to hurt her. He'd actually swallowed 3 bottles of pills after shooting Linda. Police obviously find her, and she's 14, she's swallowed 3 bottles of pills, she's clearly not in a good way, she's vomited on herself, wet herself, so you'd think, hospital. No. They take her to the police station. A medic at the police station checks her over very briefly and just says, she's fine. Go question her, she's fine. She was not fine. Cinnamon admits that she did fire the gun and that had killed Linda. She admits that she'd killed Linda. She said they didn't get on. And she just straight up was like, yeah, it was me. She said that Linda was threatening to kill Cinnamon because she was jealous of the relationship that she had with her dad. And she said that she threatened to kick her out of the house as well, so that's why she had done what she did. They eventually realise that Cinnamon is not well. I believe she starts vomiting again, she's shaking, like nearly passing out. She's fucked. She's taken 3 bottles of pills. Although she's thrown most of them up, she's still got a lot in her system. She needs to go to hospital. So they take her to hospital, but she's handcuffed to the bed. She goes to sleep and she starts mumbling in her sleep. And one of the nurses that is nearby starts making notes of exactly what she's saying, because she's kind of repeating the same thing over and over and over again. She was saying, haven't slept in 24 hours. She wanted to hurt me. She hated me. We didn't get on. I didn't mean to. I had an accident, killed my stepmom. Like just this, it was like she was rehearsing something and she kept repeating it. So she kind of knew what to say. So David said that Cinnamon and Linda had been arguing that evening, and then him and Linda had got into an argument, which is why he went out and wasn't in the house at the time. He had left to go to the shop, get some air, cool off, whatever. He said that when he returned, he saw Patty outside holding Crystal and was like, everyone was freaking out. Patty also said in questioning that Cinnamon had actually tried to shoot her as well, because they did actually find a bullet hole in Patty's room. Now, just 24 hours after the murder, David's story had changed slightly, and Patty's story had changed slightly. So Patty said that Cinnamon had come into her room and asked her how to use the gun, how to load it, how to fire it. And Patty had thought nothing of this. Just thought, that's just, this is the conversations we have most evenings. This is so normal. So she just thought that was normal, and the gun actually accidentally went off whilst she was showing her how to use it, which explains the hole in the wall. However, Cinnamon's admitting everything. She's saying, I did it, it was me. But something just doesn't feel right. There's no real motive. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why she did what she did. August 7th, 1985, Cinnamon's trial begins and she's in a juvenile detention centre. And she has pled not guilty to the murder by reason of insanity. She says she doesn't remember anything about what happened. She's got no memory of the incident, okay? Cinnamon was saying that she didn't know right from wrong at the time. However, what the nurse had actually written down from what Cinnamon was mumbling was used against her in the trial, and she was found guilty. Now, David, her dad, who she loves, dotes on, respects so much and loves so much, didn't even bother to turn up for her trial. Which could kind of argue that she's just murdered his wife, so that's why, but it's just a bit odd, isn't it? However, David does show up for her sentencing, but he's acting odd, and it's noted by the people in the room that he is acting very strange, especially towards his ex-wife. He's kind of acting like a kid. He's pulling her hair, kicking her feet, just doing the most to try and flirt like a child. It's really strange. He's smiling and giddy. It's not just strange, it's wildly inappropriate. You are at your daughter's sentencing for the murder of your wife. What are you doing? Cinnamon is sentenced to 27 years to life. However, that's in the juvenile detention centre, so she will be free when she is 25 years old. Jay Newell is one of the original people who are investigating the case, and this case really bothered him. Something just didn't quite sit right with him, and he wasn't willing to kind of let it go. He wanted to keep an eye on everything. He wanted to keep an eye on Cinnamon, and he is pretty much the only person that visits Cinnamon regularly. And over time, he starts to build up that trust with her. However, David doesn't visit her pretty much ever, and he also doesn't fill up her money either. Bearing in mind, this guy's a millionaire. The millionaire. He could easily give her money to survive while she's in this detention centre, but he doesn't. He's an arsehole. So Patty, Linda's younger sister, continues to live with David after her sister's murder and wants to stay there to look after baby Crystal, which is weird. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's weird. Gets weirder, don't you worry. One of Linda's friends comes round. Patty's now 17 at this point, and she offers to come round and sort through some of Linda's things. And when she gets there, she immediately feels incredibly uneasy. Patty is wearing Linda's clothes, which is odd. She has replaced all of the photos with Linda in around the house with photos of herself. When I first heard that, I had kind of envisioned that she'd stuck her face over Linda's face. I don't think that's how it was, but that's how I like to imagine it was. But that's just weird. You don't need to do that. You could just add pictures of yourself and keep the other ones, or swap a few. Why are you trying to erase your sister? It's very odd. It was at this point that the friend was very suspicious that Patty had actually been the one to do something to Linda, but for some reason she kept those suspicions to herself. Because, it's the 80s. People just mind their own fucking business. So it's now been 3.5 years since Cinnamon was taken into the youth facility, and she still sees Jay, the investigator, regularly, and he feels like now she is finally ready to kind of talk about things a little bit more. She's 18 years old now. Jay thinks that Cinnamon is covering up something for her dad. Like I say, it just didn't sit right with him. He thinks something's very odd. So he decides to go in, see Cinnamon, and tell her exactly what's been going on since she's been away. That Patty's now living there, and it's all just a bit strange. He also lets Cinnamon know that after Linda's death, David got around 4 life insurance policies paid out to him, equating to about $1 million. This guy's already a millionaire, and he's got another $1 million. So he's just living his fucking best life. And just to make it even weirder, so she also finds out that Patty and David are now married, and they actually got married before Cinnamon had been sentenced. So that's David's 5th or 6th marriage, 2nd in the same family, and they have a baby daughter together. So what does that mean? They're sisters and cousins? It's just all fucking weird, innit? So Cinnamon's like, fuck this guy. He is not doing anything for me. Why the hell am I still hiding for this prick? So she starts spilling the beans. She says that David had come up with this whole scheme And Patty was in on it too, and they said that she could take the fall and she wouldn't get that much time and she'd be kind of let off. So she decided to kind of go along with it. She was starting to realise that she had been completely manipulated and taken advantage of by her dad, who she loved so much and would do anything for, and he had completely used her and essentially brainwashed her. David had been telling Cinnamon that Linda had been planning to kill him. So she was under the impression that if she didn't do something soon, then her dad was going to die, and she thought the sun shone out of this man's ass. She would have done anything for him, and she did do anything for him. She thought that either David would be killed by Linda or David would have to leave town forever in order to get away from Linda. They were telling this to Cinnamon for months and months and months, and they managed to convince her that because she was a minor, she would get away with it and she wouldn't have to serve any time and she'd be absolutely fine. He kept saying, if you love me, you'd do this. I'm your dad. I know what's best. If you love me, you'd do this. On the night of the murder, Patty had told Cinnamon that she'd overheard Linda on the phone plotting David's death, and David woke both girls up in the middle of the night and said, we need to do this tonight, otherwise she's gonna kill me. They told Cinnamon that she needed to make it look like she had tried to commit suicide. So he had given her a gun and told her to kind of shoot herself in the head, but just graze the head. I don't think that's possible. You know, but I don't know a lot about guns. So he just said it would just be a scratch. Just be a scratch, like try and shoot yourself in the head and you get a scratch. But she was like, I don't think I can do that. I'm far too scared to do that. So he gives her the 3 bottles of pills instead. He said they're not enough to kill her, so she goes into the doghouse, swallows the 3 bottles of pills, and hears the gunshots from inside. So this is enough to get the case reopened. So Cinnamon managed to get David to come to the prison, and Cinnamon's wearing a wire, so she's trying to get him to admit to something. So David's not as stupid as you might think, and he doesn't really admit to what they need him to. However, he is a little bit stupid because he says he can basically convince everyone that it was Patty that did it, and they can essentially just switcheroo places. That's not how that works. I don't think that's ever happened, ever. That's not, no. But Jay's looking into everything and he knows that something's still not quite right. So he goes to Cinnamon again and goes, right, you need to tell me the truth this time. So this time Cinnamon does admit that she was the one that pulled the trigger, not that she was in the doghouse and heard some gunshots. So she explains that she went into Linda's room, put the pillow over her head and tried to shoot her, and the gun had jammed. So that's when she went into Patty's room, and that's how the bullet hole had ended up in Patty's room, because she was unjamming it. I don't know how guns work. After this, she goes and she shoots Linda. Linda's groaning for help, hence she shoots her again, poor Linda, and then she goes to the doghouse and takes the pills. It was at this point when she was explaining it kind of again that Cinnamon realises that her dad was trying to kill her too that night. The bullet graze, there's no way that would have grazed her head. That would have 100% killed her. And the pills that he gave her 3 bottles full of pills. That was also enough to kill her. And he also had a life insurance policy out on Cinnamon. Thankfully though, she threw up, and that's the only reason she didn't die. Patty and David are now arrested. They've been arrested. Patty's 20 at the time, and she's been under the spell of David for quite a few years. He's trying to manipulate her by sending her letters in prison, but the thing about being manipulated, it can't really be portrayed through letters. And as soon as she hears the wire recording of David going, oh well, I'll just get you to switch places, she goes, fuck you, and turns completely on David, which is what everyone needed and wanted. So when Patty and David got married, she was underage. She was underage. He said it's a secret, don't tell anyone. And she was underage when she got pregnant as well. And he said, you can't tell anyone this is mine. You need to pretend that you've had an affair, you've slept with someone else. It's creepy. So he knows it's creepy. He is 100% aware that what he is doing and what he's done is wrong, creepy, weird, and everything else that falls under that category. So he knows not to tell anyone, so he makes Patty lie about the father of the baby. However, he does initially try and get her to abort the baby, which she doesn't do, and Mr. Millionaire refuses to cover any of the hospital bills and costs that come with Patty having this child. He's just an arsehole. He doesn't cover any of the cost of the medical bill, but he does manage to put a life insurance policy out on this baby. What? It's funny because it's so insane. Like, what? Patty breaks and she tells the police that her and David have been planning the murder of her sister for around 3 years before it happened, and that Cinnamon was just brought into the plan last minute. Patty had tried to go through with murdering her sister previously and just couldn't do it, hence Cinnamon was brought into this. And Patty also tells police that day that David had been molesting her since she was 11 years old. David is just an outright monster. Patty is as much a victim in this as Cinnamon is. She has been controlled, manipulated, groomed and brainwashed by this freak, and that is how she had kind of fell into this trap as well. Like, she was 11 years old, for God's sakes, when he started grooming her. At 15, he was telling her that he loved her, he wanted her to be his wife, and that she was everything to him, and she wanted to do whatever it took to keep the guy that took care of her, because he, in a fucked up way, he took her out of that house, and she would have seen him as a caregiver and a provider for her. So both of these girls were completely taken advantage of by this awful man. And David's stupid. So David's now in jail and he's due to go on trial for obviously everything that he has done. The consequences of his actions are creeping up behind him very fast. But David decides to try and befriend a fellow inmate and get him to kill a few people for him. So he wants the Orange County District Attorney murdered, he wants Patty murdered, and he wants Jay the lovely investigator murdered. But thankfully, the person he had tried to hire for this was a snitch. So the plan didn't go through, and it just added more shit onto David's list. Cinnamon and Patty both go to David's trial to testify against him, and the line, "if you loved me, you would do this," kept coming up from both of them of what he'd said to them. The jury took less than 7 hours to convict David of first-degree murder, and the judge actually said he was worse than Charles Manson. That's how horrible this man is. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and he was 37 years old at the time. Patty was now 21 and she was sentenced to the same youth facility that Cinnamon had been in, and she was due for release when she was 25 as well, the same sentence that Cinnamon got. Cinnamon was released in the February of 1992. She was 21 years old at the time and she'd been released after serving 8 years. Both of the girls went on to marry and have families and hopefully live a very happy, long and lovely life. I don't have any update on them and what they're doing. Most of the time in these cases, people just want to live quite a private life away from any kind of spotlight. And in March of 2014, David died at the age of 61 of natural causes. And that is today's case all done. So I hope you enjoyed it. I told you it was very odd. The movie is good, so I would recommend. There's also a book called If You Really Love Me. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my list, so I will let you know if I read it and enjoy it. I'm currently halfway through this book, which is very good so far. It's good in the sense that you kind of don't think of something from that point of view. When you hear of a tragedy, you think of the parents of the victims, not the parents of the assailants. It's a really interesting perspective. Like I say, I've not thought about before, so I would recommend reading that if you're into reading. I don't know if one of my positive thoughts have been my Kindle. If not, my positive thought of the day is my Kindle. I fucking love that thing. It's the best thing I've ever bought. I had loads of Argos points, Next points as well, so I got it for like 60 quid, and it is my best friend. I love it. It is, I feel like I've joined a cult. I don't put the fucking thing down. I've decorated it. I've got a sunny angel on it. Love those things, by the way. I don't know why, but I really like them. I really enjoy a sunny angel. But yeah, that's it from me today. I don't think I've got anything to add. Who knows who I'm doing next week? I don't know. It'll be a surprise. Oh, goodness. Can't wait to go to bed. But until then, make good choices. be wary of older people who come to you when you're young. Even when you're like 21 and someone like 35 is coming to you, it's just not quite right. Like, I'm 27 and someone tried to match with me on Hinge the other day who was 21, and I was just like, I have nothing in common with you. Like, you're in uni or have just finished uni. We have nothing to talk about. Sorry. No, it's odd. Yeah, just be wary of people, men and women included. It's very strange. I've lost my train of thought again. Don't get murdered. I'll see you next week. Love you, bye. Got my name said. The fuck? That's me. Damn bitch, don't keep him, ho. Go make her ass on the hood of Whitesnake's car. Borderline, we'll have that because that matches me. Cheeky bitch. That sounds really bitter. What year is this? Did I write the year? Oh, shit. Ugh. What is she on about? To convict. What the fuck's his name? David. Yeah. Oh my god. What the fuck is that?